125,000 years ago, the world was in the grip of an ice age. North Africa, once grassland, became a vast desert. And struggling to cope with these changing conditions were the humans who lived there. These people were hunter-gatherers. As Africa dried up, they had to travel farther to find food and drinking water. About 80,000 years ago, according to one theory, many of them left Africa entirely. We conclude this from studying the artifacts and human remains found in East Africa. Archaeologists can tell us in astonishing detail how these people lived. They designed tools with care, understood the seasons, and knew when game animals would return from their seasonal migrations. The decision to leave Africa may have been influenced by looking across the Red Sea, where ample rain had watered the inviting green hills of modern-day Yemen. Once outside of Africa, these travelers split up, some going north and west, some going east and south. They went their separate ways, never to meet again. Some would head for the Middle East and Europe. Others would continue east, beachcombing their way along the coast of the Indian Ocean, looking for warmer, gentle places to stop, eventually reaching Malaysia and even Australia. The descendants of these first migrators would make journeys of their own, thanks to an improving climate. About 50,000 years ago, the ice age that caused humans to leave Africa came to an end. Monsoon rainfall increased in Arabia and India. Rivers swelled and game spread north. Humans followed the Tigris and Euphrates rivers from the Persian Gulf to the Middle Eastern lands along the Mediterranean Sea, tracing an arc that would become known as the Fertile Crescent. These families in the Fertile Crescent established the first successful human colonies there, more than 10,000 years ago. Here they would learn how to grow crops and keep animals. The rivers provided water to irrigate crops. There were plenty of fish and reeds to build houses and boats. Date palms grew in abundance. Later, the descendants of these first families would build stone structures that would become the cities of Mesopotamia in modern Iraq. The first steps had been taken to the great civilizations that would invent writing, develop warfare, and build empires. For the people who migrated into Asia, North and South America were the final frontiers. According to one theory, hunter-gatherers pursuing woolly mammoths into Siberia eventually came upon the Bering Strait, the narrow channel between Asia and North America. This was the last great journey to populate the world. And like all other migrations, it was dictated by climate. 25,000 years ago, the world was moving into another ice age. The seas began to recede, and out of the Bering Strait emerged a land bridge connecting the two continents. This allowed groups to migrate to North and South America. Around 10,000 years ago, humans had traveled to every corner of the globe, the most incredible and important journey we have ever made.
Prehistoric people had no cities, central governments, or systems of writing. This makes it especially difficult for us to learn about how they lived. Without written records, scientists must depend on other evidence to learn about the prehistoric past. Usually they work with artifacts like tools and pottery. But in 1991, they got a lucky break. Hikers in the Alps stumbled on the body of a man, mummified and frozen, melting out of the ice. But this wasn't the body of one of the hikers who go missing every year in this alpine region. This was a man who had died more than 5,000 years ago. He's the oldest human mummy ever found, a man 5,300 years old. Scientists call him Ötzi, or the Iceman. An arrowhead lodged in the Iceman's back suggested that he was murdered. Ötzi was an immediate archaeological sensation. Research teams eagerly studied both the mummy and his incredibly well-preserved gear.
Next check now.
A copper axe, an unstrung bow with a quiver of arrows, a flint knife, leather shoes, a woven grass cloak, and goatskin leggings. Could these remains tell them who he was, how he lived, and why he died up here in the mountains? Many researchers thought that Ötzi must have been an alpine shepherd, leading goats and sheep to high-altitude pastures in the summer. Shepherds today still herd livestock along the same path where Ötzi was found. If Ötzi was a shepherd, perhaps he was murdered for his sheep. Anthropologists Hans Platzgünger and Sylvia Reinhardt and archaeologist Anna Pedrotti decided to test this theory. They started by making an exact duplicate of Ötzi's clothes. When they were done, Hans donned the outfit. He would find out firsthand whether it could have held up to the tough life of an alpine shepherd. As Hans set off up the mountain on foot, Sylvia and Anna took an easier route by helicopter. For Hans, it was a grueling 4,000-foot climb to duplicate the Iceman's journey. From the mountaintop, Sylvia and Anna could see that Hans was having trouble. Modern-day shepherds use shovels to help them climb. Hans resorted to using the Iceman's axe. At last, he arrived exhausted. The three researchers examined the gear to see how it withstood the climb. His shoes were a disaster. They had no traction, and they didn't keep out the water at all. But the cloak felt as warm as a winter jacket. The mysterious unstrung bow became the perfect climbing staff, and the copper axe helped Hans anchor himself on steep sections of the climb. But the poor performance of the shoes is the clincher.
This experiment went very good, because it's the first time that we had the idea that we used the bow and also the axe for climbing up. And also we see that the shoes is totally broken and it's wet inside. And this is the result of the experiment. It's very good.
The poor performance of the shoes indicated that Ötzi probably wasn't a shepherd. Someone wearing shoes like this couldn't make a 4,000-foot mountain climb regularly. But if Ötzi wasn't a shepherd, why was he up here? One possibility is that Ötzi was involved in a fight in the valley below, was badly wounded, and fled up the mountain where he died. In the years ahead, researchers will continue to study Ötzi. They are confident that in time, the Iceman will reveal the story of his life and death.